So I fit the form already for a soft square. You'll notice we've got a nice parallel line coming down. They're jutting out. We know that they are going to be even and symmetrical on the side walls. The lower arches are also mimicking the lower arch line of the nail here and jutting straight out. We've got it fixed nicely. I've popped some sellotape on too just to allow for fixing. So this is really just to show you the percentage part of the creating the soft square that we did. So I'm just going to take a small amount of clear. Now remember, you just need a very, very small amount. Wafer thin amount is needed to create the length. So I'm going to actually go between the short line and the medium line, so that middle line there. So this is the amount that I've picked up for that. And it doesn't matter if you extend out just a little bit more than that, because you can file that off really easily. Just pump some alcohol onto my brush and literally just going to make that connection to the free edge of the natural nail. Jut up right to the corners, make sure you make the connection all the way up. And just this side as well, so that you can see making that connection. I'm going to make the skirt because I am going to pinch too, remembering that we need to create that skirt so it gives us that nice C curve when we look down the barrel of the nail. So you can see it's a little bit thick here just at this point. I don't know if you can see that or not. So I'm just going to taper it out just a little bit so it thins out. Because we're going to put the nude on over the top, if it's too thick with clear, we might get some patchiness when we come to file. Wipe away, wipe off onto your paper towel and just make it really nice and thin. So you can just see we've got the skirt coming out just here and the skirt coming out just here. And then we're going to give that a full cure for 2 minutes. So the clear is now cured, and now we're going to look at 50% of the nail percentage, which is from cuticle to tip is somewhere about here. So we need to think about the amount of gel we're going to need that's going to cover from this point down to the tip, which is going to be quite an amount. It's going to be quite a lump, and consider as well that this is a wide nail. So that is probably too much actually, I think. So, and place the bead at 50% mark. Neaten off your bead so you've got it evenly in the middle, and then start patting down. Now remember, notice what I'm doing with my brush is that the bead is going behind the brush. It's never on it because you're going to put divots in. We're literally pushing the bead behind the brush. Push to the side, push to the side, straighten back up again, and then my angle of my brush changes to be parallel with the table, and then follow the line to the skirt, neaten it off. If you see any air bubbles, pop them out. You can use the pointy end of an orange stick or alcohol on my brush. So I'm going to just look at just tapering that back out just a little bit, as I want to make sure my filing is as easy as possible. So we've got a good skirt coming down, just slightly jutting out of the measuring lines here, that side and that side as well. Just going to make that a little bit neater so there's not too much. You want to make sure that this is even as possible. And I can just see some air bubbles just forming just here, so I'm going to try and pop those out. It's best that you try and do that because they will show through. We can smooth that off with our 75%. So because I'm going to pinch this, making sure that's as even as possible, so you can see that there. Check down the barrel of your nail for a consistent convex shaping. So we're going to cure this in an ultraviolet light now for about 40 seconds, and then I'm going to come back and pinch. So it's had 40 seconds of curing time, and I've got sort of like a thud sound, which is just about right for pinching. If it's too clicky, might be that it's too far gone with its curing and you won't get a good pinch at all. So we take off the form carefully, and with your tweezers you're looking to pinch just before the hyponychium line and come down at an angle and just give it a light pinch in, taking the length as much as you can. So we're pinching in the skirt, and we can see, you can test with the tweezers then before you put your clamp on that it is cured enough. Yes, it is, so it should hold its place, and you can see, I twist the best I can, the curve that's being pinched there. So I'm just going to, before that disappears, I'm going to get my clamp and pop it underneath, just so that it keeps that nice curve. Make sure that's not going to over pinch. And you can see the curve that you've been created. That's going to go back in and for a full cure, and then we'll come back and finish our percentage parts. So we've done our full cure, and you should be able to see the curve that we've created, which will add to the strength of your nail shape. But like I say, you don't have to do it, but it does add to the structure. Okay, straighten back up. So we're now back up to the 75% point, which is 75%, there was our 50, so we're half of that again, so we're at this point. And we're still looking for a good amount of product, because we still do need to create our apex, and some of it is going to cover, we're going to taper it down to the end. The thickness that I've got here is perfect, so I'm just looking to taper it down to a really fine amount, hardly anything. We're not going to make up any more of the free edge now. So straighten up. Straighten up your bead, and then put your bead at the back of your brush and at a 45-degree angle push down. And it's at this point where you're starting to build that apex. 45 degrees to the client's nail. Make sure your client's nail is straight and parallel to the table. Now I have my nice little lump. Okay, so we're just taking, we're up to the side walls, and now notice the angle of my brush is changing to be quite parallel with the table, and I'm tapering down the product so it just about barely reaches the tip. And that's that's it. If you are happy with that and the shape that is, which I am, don't do any more. Don't fiddle and faff. You have got 10 of them to do, so you really don't want to be fiddling and faffing too much. Always check the convex shape to make sure that you're nice and even, and that's all you need to do. Then cure it, and then we'll move on to 99%. So you can already see that the apex is building. You have got, once we put the 99% point just here, we will get that apex pushed further back in that back third, and that's all we need to do. So you've just got to make sure you have a big enough bead that will make that apex. If you don't, cure it and then just add a little bit more. That's all you need to do. So keeping the nail flat. Placing the bead, just don't go all the way up to the 99% point, just slightly down. Neaten up the bead again, flatten it off, and then again 45-degree angle, pushing and pushing it and leaving 0.5 millimeter. So you can see now where that apex is, where that lump is just there. That is the point of where your apex wants to be. So there's no point doing a 45-degree push, because you're going to push it away and push it down. If you flatten off the angle of your brush, it'll just spread down nicely, and you'll see that the apex will stay where you want it to. So the angle of the brush is just changing, and by making the right moves or setting the right angles with your brush will help with your formation of your apex. Nice and flat. So in an extreme form, you can see that hump. Okay, that's too humpy, that's too angular, but that's where the apex needs to be. So just by doing the 99% point, first pushing in at 45-degree angle with your brush, then flattening off, you get that apex at the right point. So I'm just going to soften that off because that is too humpy at this point. So I'm just going to pat it down with the belly of the brush and just stroke any excess down. So you can see now that that's a lot smoother. You can see where the highest point is actually here. The thickness will be taken down a little bit more, and as with the soft square, we have the apex at the 30% part or 40%, somewhere around this part here, and then a nice tapered angle down. Not straight across, but slightly tapered down. So that's it. Nice and smooth. That's going to be cured for 2 minutes, and then it's ready for filing. And you can follow your plan in your manual for that. I hope that helps.